Before I start this video, I just wanted to clarify that although the Headix115 guy over on Twitter deleted his account, I want to remind you guys that his information was still good. It was still verified information that was 100% accurate. However, he did lie a couple of times about where he got this information from. So, as I cover in my recent video about Jason Blundell, he was told by many inside sources and even reliable leakers around the community that Jason Blundell had apparently lost his position over at Treyarch. However, we then came to figure out that it was simply the developers behind the scenes who were unaware of Blundell's new position at Activision and obviously misinterpreted his absence over at the studio. So this Headix115 guy had actually been kind of scavenger hunting around the community and figuring out all these different leaks from many reliable leakers in the community, and then pieced it together and sort of fabricated a story that he somehow had a bunch of inside sources. But I do think he had contact with at least one inside source, but not the many or the 11 inside sources he apparently had, as he was claiming on Twitter. So he handled the Blundell situation pretty poorly, but his information about Grief, Zombies Chronicles 2, and the information we'll be talking about in this video is still good information. So without further ado, enjoy the rest of the video. What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite. We have a bit of a long video today going over the Black Ops 4 that once was the game that Treyarch was developing and unfortunately had to completely scrap and rework from the ground up, which then became the Black Ops 4 that released on October the 12th. So once again, shout out to Headix115 over on Twitter. He's been leaking a lot of reliable information, 100% accurate, and knows a lot about Black Ops 4, the DLC season, and even information about the upcoming Modern Warfare. I've covered many of his leaks before and have been for the past week as well, so be sure to check him out over on Twitter. But we're going to be going over his multiplayer development thread. So starting off here with his first tweet. We should first establish that Black Ops 4 was created as a tactical, team-based experience set after the events of Black Ops 3. So originally a sequel instead of a prequel to Black Ops 3. Since everybody loved BO3 at the time, they want to take that experience and improve it, refine it, something everybody would enjoy. Strap in, lads. Kill streaks or score streaks were not in Black Ops 4 during development. This meant you could focus on playing the objective instead of camping. It also made getting killed by specialists less frustrating. You'd be surprised by how much this improved the flow of each match. Crazy, no streaks in multiplayer, what the hell. Since you couldn't easily obtain UAVs, the Fog of War mechanic filled that slot. It was still a small general radius around you and your teammates' minimaps, but much larger than what we currently have. This made callouts much more effective in gameplay. Jetpacks were originally meant to be in the gear slot, but got removed entirely after playtester feedback. Using it with Ruin's Grapple was apparently very fun and fluid, and gave a side option for people who liked BO3. You want mobility? Equip it, or don't and pick something else. Pick 10 was a very late addition to Black Ops 4. Originally it worked similar to World War II, but without divisions. Your primary and secondary weapon had 6 attachment slots, with operator mods taking up 2 slots. You could customize it a lot in terms of your class. Equipment such as Molotovs or frags weren't originally in Black Ops 4. This was added very late in development to make the game more Call of Duty. Like, your equipment was always supposed to be dependent on what specialist you chose. That makes perfect sense. Specialists used to have ultimates, another ability with a much longer cooldown. Your equipment, weapon, and ultimate cooldowns were all in the bottom middle of the screen. Your self-heal cooldown was originally next to your health bar. This made for a clean UI, something many people have been requesting since the release of Black Ops 4. So, some examples of ultimates are Recon having a UAV, Torque having a sentry gun, Prophet having a Mantis, Ruin having an airstrike, and so on. These wrapped up the specialists pretty well, making their purpose on the battlefield more obvious. 2 abilities doesn't do them justice. Black Ops 4 was meant to have a war mode. Similar to World War II, you played on a large, unique map with objectives throughout. One of these maps had you collecting power cells to power a robot, which you then had to escort while the enemy team tried to stop you. Similar to Safeguard, I would assume. This isn't necessarily multiplayer related, but it ties into the Specialist, so I'll put it here anyway. After the 2v2 campaign got scrapped, Treyarch started working on solo missions that eventually turned into Specialist HQ. Those solo missions took place on entirely unique levels, sort of like a mini campaign with cutscenes and dialogue. Below are a few examples of these solo missions. Ruin and Battery explore a large destroyed city using mobility and cover to their advantage. After Battery saves her VIP, Torque, they both escape to a nearby gas station. They must use sentries and barricades to defend themselves against waves of enemies. We actually have a leaked image that supports this tweet actually, which I'll try to find and put it on screen in this video. It actually leaked probably right before we got another trailer for Black Ops 4, so maybe right around release, we got an official image of this city, which is really cool. Scrapped concept, was only for this exclusive solo campaign. After being ambushed and surrounded in a jungle, Nomad must use his expert traps to escape alive. Careful placement of equipment and awareness of the surrounding terrain will play a big role in this mission. Ajax deals with a riot situation in the streets. So some of these descriptions really do match up with the cutscenes we actually got in Specialist HQ for a majority of these Specialists. I'll add more onto this if I'm able to find anything else on Black Ops 4's multiplayer development, mainly just putting down the obvious stuff since the obscure stuff is boring. DM me if you have any questions. He also tweeted some other cool things here. We first off have an image here of the Blackjack, which 100% supports a leak that was previously put out by the Gaming Revolution and his source, stating that in the final operation for Black Ops 4, we'd be seeing Blackjack as the main Specialist, but unfortunately, as Matthew Harris reported from his source, a completely different person, probably not connected to the Gaming Revolution source, Blackjack will be locked behind reserves. Yes, you heard that right. Microtransactions are about to get a hell of a lot worse with at least the second half of Apocalypse Z and even the last operation in the fall for Black Ops 4, where you're going to have more weapons locked behind reserves, more pay-to-win systems in Blackout, and an entirely new Specialist who is apparently just as annoying as Zero being locked behind gambling, which is reserves. So we have Hedix here reconfirming the Blackjack, who is coming to Black Ops 4 very soon. Very easy for them to do. He retweeted a tweet from Matthew Harris about the new sniper coming to BO4 and about how it sounds icky. The new sniper is both currently bolt action and semi-auto, kind of like the Outlaw. Just imagine the BO2 Ballista, but futuristic. There's a chance it'll get nerfed after it's added, but that'll probably be a while. He also tweeted out, if test_map isn't added to Black Ops 4's multiplayer, by the time Modern Warfare releases, I'm actually going to riot. It was in QA for an entire fucking week and then gone. Where is it, Treyarch? What have you done with my poor little test map? He was so special to me. So he made it clear to me in DMs that there are apparently 4 unreleased multiplayer maps separate from the 2 promised Black Ops Pass maps and the Jungle Flooded variant. So they could easily be other variant maps. That's what I'd assume. But then he kind of reassured me that these are completely unique maps, new experiences. So maybe for the final operation, they'll say, you know what? We're going to drop in a couple of free maps for you guys for sticking along with Black Ops 4 all year. We'll throw this in for you. But for all we know, they could be scrapped concepts, saved concepts. We have no idea what those original maps he's talking about actually are. But in terms of multiplayer, he also tweeted out something, I believe, about Blackout. I think that's about it for multiplayer. So when it comes to Blackout, he then said, it's crazy to think that one of the first iterations of the Blackout map was just 3 large skyscrapers all connected by bridges. The zone was just all the doors closing, so eventually everyone was forced into a parking lot underground. More fun Blackout facts, there used to be a create a class menu. You didn't jump from a plane, you just spawned in the map. There used to be weapon rarity. The higher the rarity, the more attachments. The first non-skyscraper Blackout map only featured areas from the cut campaign. So interesting details there as well. Very cool stuff if you guys are interested in the Black Ops 4 that once was. But as I've been saying with many of my friends lately, it does seem like when it comes to Black Ops 4 at least, they originally had a plan, right? They say, you know, let's kind of expand on Black Ops 3, a successful game that many people praise in the community. Let's actually expand on that, make it better with advanced movement, and then on top of that, throw in mechanics from another popular game, Overwatch, make it a very tactical experience with a specialist, give them more backstory. They obviously scrapped the campaign, but when it comes to multiplayer, they still had hopes that it would be as successful and competitive as Overwatch. But then, you know, after reworking multiplayer from the ground up, they said, you know what, we got to make it feel like Call of Duty. More Call of Duty, less Overwatch. Then we got the Black Ops 4 that we know today, which is a bit different. Then when it comes to the Modern Warfare reboot, they seem to be going with a Rainbow Six styled multiplayer. Really tactical as well, but in a different fashion. So I guess it's interesting, a little slower pace than we're used to when it comes to Call of Duty. Call of Duty is usually really fast paced. But besides that, as I've also been saying with friends, it seems like when you're developing a game, it goes for any studio, not just Call of Duty or Treyarch, but when it comes to developing a game, it's difficult when you're developing a game that the community definitely wants during that time of development, but 2 or 3 years later, when the game finally comes out, the trend could be a lot different. The interest in the community and for gaming as a whole could be on a whole nother level, which drastically changes how that studio like Treyarch then updates and supports their game for the remainder of that game's life cycle. So you look at Black Ops 3 and how they want to take elements from that and make BO4, it probably would have worked if Battle Royale didn't exist, but then having to shoehorn in Blackout changed things a lot. And we then got the game that we got here, where Blackout's so big, not a separate download, but on disc, to the point where it downscales the graphics of every other game mode. It's a little tragic, but then at the same time, focusing more on Blackout support as Activision requested more than the multiplayer support. While if Black Ops 4 released 3 years ago, Activision would say, yeah, make multiplayer more like Overwatch, support it the same way, put out good DLC. But now that Battle Royale exists, they had to change their plan and their agenda entirely for Black Ops 4 to accommodate for what the interest is within the gaming community. So that's about it for Black Ops 4 and the game that once was. Let me know what you think of all this down below in the comment section. This has been dkdynamite. I'll have more videos coming out in the next couple of days as Hedix keeps tweeting on his account when it comes to leaks and some development information that you guys might find interesting. And I also have some more Operation Apocalypse Z coverage here within Black Ops 4. Thank you so much for watching, and peace out, everyone.